Haven't. What is Adam saying? Oh, Adam says he wants to see the chonies. What is up? What's going on,
Good
Jennifer Lacey?
morning. How are you?
Oh man, I am fantabulous. We have our very own DJ Hootie Hoot
I
back
know
in
he's back. I'm so excited.
back in the sound booth. So what that means is I'll be able to give more attention to the questions and the conversation, and I get to blame Adam for like all the comments that aren't brought up to the screen.
True, but I think the no, sorry, and the additional value is that because you have to split time when Adam's not there, that you get to be right here with me and you get to, not have to worry about those other things. And Adam can just start pulling them up, which helps our conversation grow because then we get to see more things. So,
Yes. So speaking of our conversation, what are we conversating about, Jennifer?
well, we're talking about life lessons, which is cool because that was something I had to think about this week, and so we're going to dig into that a little bit on some advice maybe that we would give ourselves if we had to start all over and how that could maybe impact our careers and decisions we've made.
Yes, life lessons.
Hey, blue heart. Where's the blue heart banner?
What's that?
Where's the blue heart? There we go. Thank you, Adam. Come on now, catch back up.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. My fingers are going to get very happy. Yeah, watch out. Right? Look, even Adam's like, come on, keep it up. So, yeah, Blue Heart, new. Let us know you're here so everybody can love all over you.
We got people that I know haven't been here before. So, can we go? Welcome, Adam. Glad you're back. Go back to the blue heart banner. Because I had some people reach out to me about the blue heart, so we didn't explain it very well. So I want to make sure we explain it very, very well. Those that are jumping on, that have never jumped on, okay, you may have been listening in the background or lurking, but you've never like typed and added to the conversation, or you're back there and maybe you don't really want to engage, but you want us to know you're there. So if you will please, Jeff Sample, go ahead and put a blue heart and share that in the chat, then we know it's like your first time engaging with us and we can like connect with you and love on you and make sure all of our tribe supports you. So please do that as you're popping in. And then if you see other people that maybe you hadn't seen before or you see the blue hearts, please go in and give them some love.
Yes, and look, we got Mr. Azul Peter says he's a first timer.
Whoop, whoop.
And he's coming in from Nigeria. Welcome, my friend. Thank you for being courageous and putting yourself out there.
Yes.
We also have Usku, Adabambu, also from Nigeria. Man, we're international.
And first timer.
Yeah, first timer also.
Yes.
Jim is not a first timer.
No. Glad he's back on the back deck. I don't know if he's by himself or with his wife.
I think he's drafting up the next agenda for that big event that he just had.
Oh, the superintendent thing. Oh my gosh, yes.
Yep. And then Mr. Lance he says, Miss DFW Achiever. What's he talking about, Jen?
No. We're doing blue hearts right now. Let's focus on the blue hearts.
Then Mr. Jeff Sample. What is up, Jeff? How you doing? I guess you're West Coast, Jeff? I think he's West Coast, right?
I think, but he's the one that reached out and he went, Jennifer, I know y'all have this thing. I don't know when it is. I don't get alerts. And so I want to join y'all on the live on these Saturday mornings. And so I've kind of been feeding him some, hey, do this. And then also got him invited. So excited you're here, Jeff.
And he made it. Hell yeah.
He did.
The iPad so he can pick your dot or your heart. James Gable, what is up? James says he's coming in from Colorado. He's glad to see Hootie Hoot is back. Bruce, always causing trouble. Oh. Lynn Chavez, I got to meet her at the Women's Confidence Builder event in South Carolina. Yes, Lynn, welcome.
Welcome.
So awesome. I think her and Lance are connecting because they need to because they're amazing.
Nice.
Oh, look, I got another troublemaker.
Oh my gosh, they're just following you everywhere.
Julie says she's here for the first time, coming in from Facebook land. What's up, girl? Maria Martin, not a first timer. She's more of
No,
a lifetimer. She's been here for a while. What's up, girl?
but she'll be the one loving on all these blue hearts for sure.
Yes, yes. And Azu letting us know, right? He's a creative writer. But it's kind of fitting, don't you know an author or two, Jen?
I mean, we got a few in our group
Yeah, yeah. And then we got LinkedIn user. I'm gonna assume that is our really good friend, Miss Tanya.
from San Antonio.
Yep, in San Antonio. Here we go. Bruce says, when the No BS tribe has a Hall of Fame, Jennifer Lacey has to be a No BS first ballot Hall of Famer. And then we got another LinkedIn user. That's a security thing.
Yes. So that may be, do you know who that is? I had a couple that I invited. That's okay.
Yep.
If you'll give us your name, wonderful blue heart, thank you. And then if you will, we can't really see your name yet because Jesse, there's some back end stuff. I think you said some settings or something.
Yeah. I don't know because I've never had a problem. So
thank you for being here.
Well, the good thing is on like the LinkedIn app on their end,
they can see it.
They can see her name. It just StreamYard and LinkedIn. They have some rules, I guess.
Awesome. Okay. Well, then y'all jump on and y'all connect. That would be amazing.
Yes. And we got Abdul Wahed says, very happy to participate. Thank you for big love.
Big love, big love.
And then the chief marketeers here from sunny Connecticut in the only real time zone from the EST. So it is Miranda Auzen.
Okay.
That met
Wonderful.
you.
Thank you. She was I believe she was a winner also.
A lurker?
No, I think she won. She was also one of the women recognized at that event.
Oh, so okay. I don't. My internet is being glitchy, Jen.
No, it is not.
Yeah. So like, there's people alluding to this luncheon, and then this thing keeps popping up on my screen. What's that? Can you please tell us a little bit about that, Jennifer Lacey? The world wants to know.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that share right there. No, so this week I with another huge group of ladies in the DFW area was recognized by the Dallas Business Journal as the 2023 Women in Business honorees. And so I was one of those winners, and along with a whole lot of people that are doing a whole lot of amazing things. And so if you don't know, you can check out social media. It's pretty much everywhere. But yes, that is what happened this week.
And that is the basis for our conversation today.
Yes. Right? Oh, okay. Yeah. So great segue. So we were asked, every one of the honorees, when we went on stage to receive our award, every one of us had the microphone and we were to answer the question of if you could give advice, if you could go back and give advice to yourself before you kind of started your career and before you kind of started down your journey, what would that advice be? And that was something we had to present to the entire room. And so every honoree got to get up there and give their advice. And so it was recorded and shared, and all these people were talking about it. And some of our follow-up conversations were, well, what is your topic going to be on Saturday? And Jesse and I went, well, why don't we just make that be the topic? Because it was a good advice, but also a lot of follow-up conversations about what you would say, what people took from what I said, and things like that. So those are things I think we're going to talk about today.
Woohoo! Look, everybody showing Jen some love because she's kind of a big deal. And so, folks, y'all keep bringing. Oh, look, Jeff got the blue heart in. Jeff, everybody, you already know. Attack, unite, support. Yes. My buddy Chris Davis coming in from Denver also. And then Mr. Duan is here. He's on in. LinkedIn user coming in from Jacksonville, Florida. First timer logging in.
We got lots of blue hearts today.
Yeah. And then Mr. Colin Sutt says, sup, y'all. Good morning. What's up, big dog? Colin. We'll be seeing them soon. Okay. So y'all keep letting us know you're here because we want to love on you. We don't know if you're here if you don't comment.
Yes.
And if you're a lurker, we love you too. Keep lurking, baby. So life lessons for your younger self, which I think we all know is kind of a big, gigantic topic. and you mentioned, right, I was talking to Laura, uh, what was it, Wednesday
Wednesday night.
evening in Dallas, and I was giving her the run through about how we go ahead and how we
How we
prep
do
for
all
the
the planning.
show. And but the conversation was more around like our growth. And so I got to talk about what I've been able to witness in terms of your growth and the transitions and stuff that you made along the way. Um, and all of that was based on the message that you delivered at this luncheon, which was a pretty powerful. For me, it was a 1-2 punch, right? Because at first it's like, oh, that's weak, and then I'm like, oh, damn, that's really, really good. And so I'm wondering, Jen, would you mind sharing your message, your takeaway for to get this conversation kicked off?
Absolutely. So, again, the question for those of you that are jumping on was at a luncheon this week that I was honored as one of the 2023 Dallas Business Journal's Women in Business winners. We got asked as we were accepting our award, when you go on stage, you're going to have the microphone. And if you will give the audience a brief, if you could go back and give your younger self some advice based on all the things you've learned, what would you tell yourself? That was the question. And so two pieces of advice that I gave the crowd. Number one is never forget the people that have always been in your corner, those people that have been in the shadows and kind of, pulling the strings, but also those people that picked you up when you've fallen down. Just don't forget those people, because those were a lot of the people that were in the room there to support me. And then the other one, which is the one Jesse's talking about, is I opened with conforming to the status quo will get you promoted. But if you pursue those things that are a little bit scary, then you could open the door to something that only you can lead. So those were my pieces of advice.
All right, so I'm going to dig into that. And while I'm digging in, I know we got a couple comments already, but folks out there in the Omniverse, let us know, what advice would you give your younger self? I think you and I talked about this before, Jen. I think the super awesome thing here is, as those are coming up, this can be a resource, a reference for people to go back to,
Yes.
right? And pluck away something that's applicable to you in your life, professionally, personally, and or share with the younglings out there, right?
Be careful, because it could turn into a book at some point.
It could turn into, you know what? I'm glad you volunteered to lead that book. I'm so glad, appreciative. And then, of course, I want to give some love to Miss Leslie. Miss Leslie's here. She said, good morning, coming in from the NYC. So Jen, I mentioned that it was like a 1-2 punch. And when I listened to the first half of your message, meaning if you want to get promoted, conform, right? And I'm like, man, that's weak. Like, I thought this was a big deal. And then you dropped it, right? And said, but if you want to lead something, pursue your curiosities or something to that effect. So does your comment, that share that you gave, does that reflect any of your thinking, like a transition in your thinking from conforming to leading something or discovering something and revealing it to the world that only you could lead?
100%. But it's not just like, oh, this one thing happened. It's like been my career. Like, I think I've been next week, I will be within the construction industry and with the firm I'm with 20 years. It's a pretty big deal. And so, but that wasn't my first career. And so I, was a teacher and a coach before that and stuff like that. So it is one of those things where I did everything I was supposed to do, checked the boxes, made sure I did the trainings, did, all the things that I'm supposed to do to make sure that I was continuing to grow. And it worked, and I got promoted, and everything was happy, and I was doing. And then there was a point where I'm like, okay, what's next? And no one could answer that. And that was kind of before I got into construction. And so I then started looking at, okay, well, what does that mean for me? And I had to go outside of my industry and in an industry I'd never been in before, didn't have any background in, any education or anything like that. And to make that jump after you've kind of been in a career is freaking scary, because you don't know what you're going into. And I mean, you could fail, or you could get called out on something and be like, what, why are you here? Like, how did you even get here? And so made the jump and really had to, I don't tell this to a lot of people, but I, had been teaching and coaching and, had done really well. And, kind of my career was growing and applied for a job and kind of had to take a pay cut. And I was a teacher. So I had to take a pay cut to come into an industry in a position that I had not proven myself, that I had not, they didn't know what I could bring other than my resume. And so they kind of like, I had to humble myself a little bit and go, okay, I can do this. And then, got in there and was rolling and checking boxes and getting promoted and great performance evaluations and everything was good. And then, got through, 10, 15 years of that and went, okay, what's next? And what I'm doing now didn't exist. And I think that's what got me to say what I said, is because we kind of started doing some things within the company that I did not have experience with, did not have knowledge of. But something in it kind of ignited something in me and made me realize like, ooh, that's something that I could get behind. And that's something that I could believe in. And then I just went full force learning, trying to understand, going and interrogating people and getting all the knowledge and all the information that could help me go, okay, what's next? What's next? And then went outside my company and started connecting with people that were in the space and getting kind of the foundational knowledge and understanding of what it was. And then I just started doing it. And then about 4.5 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, went in and said, hey, I think this is a role that we need in our company and it doesn't exist. And I need to be that person. And they took a chance on me and they gave it to me. And right now that is my role in a huge construction company. And it is not something that 7 or 8 years ago, anyone could have even thought that one, I could do it, or two, that it needed to be there. And that is like something that if I didn't jump and try something scary and go, oh, I don't know what's going to happen, there's no way I'd be where I'm at. So.
And so was it like just one jump?
It's okay. It's like a big jump. And then you're like, but I have the safety stuff on. So, it's like where you do it, but you're protected still. Like I have a fallback and I have this. And then there's some jumps where I just jumped and I'm like, I'm either going to fly and it's going to be great, or it may hurt a little bit if I don't, if it doesn't go the way I want to. But I had to take some of that protection off and know that this could end not the way I wanted it to. But I was scared, but I knew it would be okay because of who I was. And that if I fell and I failed, it didn't mean I couldn't go do something else tomorrow. And I think once I got my brain in that place, then I was in control of it. Everyone else wasn't.
Mm. So what I heard is there was a lot of little jumps.
A lot of little jumps, a couple of big jumps that kind of put me in a different place.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I had to like make some decisions on, do I just sit here and I'm good? Because now everybody, everything's stable and everybody sees that I bring value. Or do I keep going because I'm in a place where, okay, I need more. And there's times where you have to kind of sacrifice some of that to be able to go, okay, but I want to be here. And we know people like that are fine in those places. My dad was one of those people. He taught school for 29 years and he was an amazing middle school teacher. And that's all he wanted. He wanted to teach. And when he got done, he felt like he'd done everything he was meant to do. Girl, 4 years into teaching. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be here for my whole career, because I needed more than what that education. And again, education is amazing. It just wasn't where I needed to be because I needed more than what it was able to give me.
Boom. There we go. We got Mr. Kyle Davis says, your decision to live outside of your comfort zone has led to major impacts with the company. And he's blessed to work and call you his friend.
Thank you, Kyle. He's another one of those people. So don't let him fool you.
Well, I think that's, we've been talking about this week. There's been a lot going on that you and I have been talking about behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. And, the idea of conformity, and with regard to what Kyle said, right? Like it does keep us safe. Mm-hmm. because everybody knows nonconformance gets you special attention.
Good or bad.
Right? Like exactly, like good or bad, it
Jesse
gets
bad. Jesse's used to the bad stuff.
yeah, yeah. And you have like I think there's an important thing to talk about there in terms of if when you start challenging or pushing the lines of conformity, you just have to expect for people to look at you sideways,
Yes,
right? Because there is risk in that thing.
there
Now,
is.
the value I think is when I'm not conforming and just repeating what everyone else has done before me, the impact I can have is greater.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%. And you said that they're kind of looking at you side eyes. If you will also allow yourself to know that some of those side eyed glances are, well, damn her. Like a little bit of jealousy, a little bit of not jealous of the person, but like what she's willing to do. That some people are like, I'm not in a place where I'm comfortable or can even do that with the fear of the risk of what could happen. People don't live. There's a lot of people that don't live like that.
Yes. And again, for me, the exchanges impact, right? Is
You and I just talked about this. It is an absolutely impact. And when you start looking at not just what's the ROI and what's the KPI, and I mean all the different things, and when you focus on the impact of what you're doing and the impact and the ripples of that impact and how those things impact other people and other things that are happening within your space, like that that's where a lot of people don't look at or do they lean into that area because it's sometimes it's a little squishy, sometimes it's a little subjective. It's not as tactical and measurable and analytics and things like that, and so they kind of lean away from that. But I mean that's everywhere. It's like, and I told you this week I had to own like the people that I am surrounded by and the people that support me and the people in my lives, like they are because when I interact with people, when I engage with people, I leave something there and I make something there and I connect with something that then when I leave, those people are not just gone. Like they are now part of something bigger and they know it and I know it. And so that's part of this, a lot of what I experienced this week, which was a lot of very uncomfortable things for me because I had to like own that I'm a big deal.
you're having big impact, sister, for
Yes.
sure. So we got some nuggets
Okay.
that you're sharing. Kyle,
Yes.
I'm gonna go on that Kyle first. What he would tell his younger self is don't let the negative define you, but use it to push forward to make you strong. You ever deal with any negative comments, outcomes, even?
Yeah, Jesse. I mean, well, okay. Well, let's turn this on you a little bit because I know I've been talking a lot. But like you've made some pretty big jumps, and like I've been. I mean, I'm gonna say I've got to be a part of a couple of them in the last 2 years. But you made some pretty big jumps from a firm that you were with for a long time to another firm, then to an. I mean, like you've made some pretty big jumps. So what? When you made those jumps, like what drove you to do it? But also like when you were giving advice to people on, hey, if you're thinking about this, like these are the things that kind of went through my mind, and maybe these are things to think about. What advice do you have for people?
Yeah, well, I'll say like the first piece of advice that I would give my younger 15-year-old self is you are enough. Um, because I spent so much, and it's become like a superpower now, but back then I never felt I could be in a room full of people and everybody knew me and I still felt alone. I always felt out of place. I always felt less than. And so I put a lot of energy into trying to fit in. And so I would adjust and contort my behavior and the way I showed up, the way I spoke, the way I dressed, everything to fit in. Um, Now that's helped me because the way I was able to figure out how to fit in was by listening and paying real close attention to everybody in the group. And then I would conform my behavior to that. But it was unhealthy, right? Because I had this thing, my friend Michelle pointed out. She's like, Jesse, you have like this way of figuring out exactly what people want from you, giving it to them, and then resenting them for wanting it. And it was like,
Damn.
it was true like that. I mean, that was probably middle school to maybe my early 30s is how I functioned, right? Now, so in terms of the advice of giving for that I would put out there is like, you're enough. You really are enough. And does that apply today? Absolutely. And so in terms of me taking the jumps that I've taken, and I think people, I don't know if anybody would argue that I like to jump, right? I
You
take
do.
a lot of jumps.
But you
Um,
still hesitate sometimes, like your last one that you made, your big one to be out on your own. Like you were waiting because you wanted to make sure you had things in place, and then you kind of decided, I'm just going to do this because I have enough to be able to do what I want to do.
yeah, I don't think it was a hesitation.
Okay.
There was a path that I hadn't considered,
Okay. There we go.
right?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
I was going down this path and I needed to build my house before I started on my own.
Yes.
And then you and I had a conversation and you're like, well, why don't you just buy a house? Wouldn't it be faster? I'm like, oh shit, like, yes. And so I think it was within 60 days I bought a house,
Yes.
right? Like it wasn't hesitation. It was more, the path I had it out of sequence. Now, what helps me, and this, I don't know that it can be applicable, but I just want to let people know, like it's high risk. And so my life is designed such that I don't have any dependence. The decisions I make impact me directly. If I'm broke, like I don't have mouths to feed, I don't have school supplies to buy. It's just me. Um, and so that makes it easier for me to jump. Now, for me, it's the idea to action thing, right?
Mhm.
And my compulsion to jump and move on an idea comes from my past being a little kid, seeing things that I didn't take action on. And the people I cared about suffered. And then I finally took action, small action, and the conditions changed for the people I care about. And so I have some weird guilt and also an understanding that if I see a pain or I see a problem and I don't do anything about it, I'm contributing to the pain that other people are experiencing. If I see a gap and don't do something about it, like I can't complain about it, right? There's another little Jesseism is don't complain about anything you're not prepared to take action upon. And so there needs to be some balance in terms of there's a lot of problems I see. There's a lot of things that I see that bug the hell out of me, but I am a finite person. Like I can't do them all. So I have to be selective about what it is I'm going to take action on. Now, and like back to the impact thing, that's the filter. Like, is it going to impact people's lives in a lasting, long-term, deep, and meaningful manner? If it's not, if it's just water skiing and makeup, I ain't gonna waste my time on it. But if it is, like we've talked about, emotional bungee jumpers, absolutely there's impact. The live stream, is there impact? Absolutely there's impact. We got people showing up, sharing all this stuff. And so that's helps me having those parameters to take that leap. Now, I'll also add early on when I was learning this, I took action on things that served me.
Okay.
Like I got a lot, like financially and accomplishments and achievement and all that stuff. The difference is when I was chasing those things or the intent behind my action on those things, it was work. It was like running uphill. I had to push and claw and scratch to make progress on those things. The difference now is when I do it in service to others, it's easy.
You don't have enough time.
I don't, right? Like, I started my business. There's specific things that I'm doing in terms of supporting courageous leaders out there. And that has not been crawling uphill. It's been freaking amazing. All right. Like, and so maybe there's a little bit there, right? Of acting, like sharing your gifts and talents in service to others. I used to share them to be the highlight, to be the center of attention. And now I do it, and I try to do it to not just be the center of attention, but also to serve others in some form, such that they have an enhanced quality of life.
Okay, so I'm going to ask the next question, and then we can move on to some of the comments. So, can you dig into? So again, amazing explanation of kind of where you are, because I've got to experience all this, but I've also experienced some frustrations that you've had, that you are able to see opportunities in front of you or see ways that you can impact people. And then you don't just push them to the side. You lean into that and they don't act.
Mm-hmm.
And how that, like, at first it just frustrates you, and like to the point of like, well then fine, go do, whatever, go do your thing. But like, can you talk a little bit to when you do see those things and it's idea to action, idea to action, that's how you function, and you see things and you bring them to people and they're just not ready, or they're not quite there. That's a little scary for them. What do you do there?
Yes. Yeah, no, I love that. So everybody, fair warning, and I think it's been said before, like if you have something that you've been like aspiring to experience or do, if you let me know, I'm going to bug you about it. Right. And I think that we'll leave that there. And I'm not sure, yeah, I really don't understand exactly why I do that. But I do know that I do it all the time. I've done it with you, done it with everybody that I spend time with. Like, I can't help myself. Now, there's a couple of things that have helped me manage that better. One, David Verbals, my coach, my buddy Chris Davis. I'm saying his name just for you, Chris. He says intrinsic versus extrinsic drives, and I am absolutely intrinsically driven. But David Verbal pointed out, it was when I was transitioning from my last job to start my business. It was like, okay, well, who's going to take your space? And I said, oh, well, this guy, and he's going to take over the department. Da, 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 da. And he's like, okay, does he know that? And I said, what do you mean? He's like, have you talked to him and gained agreement from him that that's what he wants? I was like, no. And he says, Jesse, I've known you for a couple of years now. You do this. You decide a path for people and take them down that path, and you never even talk to them about it, right? Like I do. And it reminded me of David Olguin. He was an apprentice. Man, this was 20 years ago. He was my apprentice, first year apprentice. The guy had amazing work ethic, smart. He gave a damn. He worked hard. I decided that he was going to go to the National Craft Championship because I decided. He ended up quitting the company. And I didn't even at last minute, I didn't know he was leaving until he was leaving. And I'm like, dude, like what happened? He's like, Jess, like it's too much pressure. I was like, what do you like? Come on. He's like, no, like they're not that hard on us. He's like, no, not the company. You like,
Jess.
yeah. Like your expectations of me are just too big. And I don't want it. I don't need it. So backdrop, right? Like that's the backdrop of this conversation or this element here. So what I do now, when people are, I will ask, do you want to work on this?
You do, and I appreciate that.
All right. Is this something that you want?
Mm-hmm.
First. Second, I'll say, when you get sick of me and you don't want me anymore, you want me to leave you alone, I need you to be explicit and tell me, piss off, leave me alone. Because I don't, I'm dense. When I get that focus on something, I need to be slapped. Otherwise, I won't hear it. And so the frustration part, I think Clyde had made a comment on this on one of the posts earlier this week, is like you say you want it, and we're going to have regular calls or check-ins, and usually it starts with all the excuses or the reasons why you can't do it. That's fine. But at some point, I'm like, okay, you don't want it. Like you're not prepared to take it.
You're not ready.
You're not ready. And what I've learned is I can't be frustrated about the human being, because that is a natural occurrence within people. We want something. And so idea, and then decision, okay, that's good. But the action is not as easy as it seems.
Not the first time or the second time or the third time.
Yes. And so what I've learned to do, like it does frustrate me, because I'm like, well, you're going to stay where you're at. And I also kind of feel a little bit like I'm failing them, but it's not my job. It's their job, right? I'm here to help, guide, support. And I'm looking for indicators that you're ready to move. If you don't take action and we're having the same conversation 2 or 3 times, I'm out and I will disappear. You call back. And I do that for my own sanity, 1. And 2, there are other people out there that do want and are ready to take action, and I can invest in them while you're figuring it out.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's like so much going on over here. Like, I don't know if I like that Adam has control, but we'll just go with that.
Like LinkedIn user says, yes, Jesse does need to be slapped from time to time. Um, yeah, Jeff Sample, right? Like, and that's the thing, right? Is we're never ever going to be ready.
No.
But so go,
Yeah.
right? I think like not taking action, biggest regrets. Don't miss the opportunities that are in front of you. And that's the thing, right? It's like, thank you, James. Like I have to do something because if I don't, I know that I didn't do anything. I know that I sat still and stayed comfortable. Accountability partner, Adam. Thank
It
you.
is. It is. And when I said what I said, it is not to put down or to judge those people that are checking boxes and doing the things that they need to do, because we have a whole industry, a whole world of those people. That's how a lot of things function and a lot of things keep moving forward. So it's like at no point am I putting those people in a bad light. You are just one of those people, or you're something else. And sometimes you start one way and you move to another place, and you either have to be willing to be scared and be uncomfortable and not know what's in front of you. I'm just saying, like, that is not a place that everybody wants to swim.
Yes. Well, so I'm going to go with Thomas's and I'm going to come back to that.
Yes. Okay.
So Thomas says transcending discomfort does not mean ignoring or suppressing anxiety and fear. Like I have it.
I do too. I do too. I do too.
Right? But I do something. He goes on to say, but rather accepting it and learning from it. It also does not mean seeking pain for its own sake, right?
Mm-hmm.
But rather choosing pain that has a purpose and a meaning. Man, talking to my soul.
That's what he does. It's like, it's not that thrill seeking, just what that looks like and then the fall.
Yes.
Thrill seeking and then the fall. Like, it's not that.
Right. But now it can be, because I've been there, right?
Okay.
Chasing that thing, whatever it is. But I lost my place.
That's okay.
There, it's uncomfortable, but if we don't take the action, guess what? I stay where I'm at. If I'm hungry,
how many people have got, like, and I'm sure there's people out there, like, for me, I'm going to use the water park. When you go to the big water park with all the big water slides, there's the one slide that like is at the top of the tower. And like when you're about to get on it, it's like the go and then drop. And then it's like the one that's like goes straight down, and the kids are just going 90 miles an hour, going 90 miles an hour. And it's literally like, you see the bottom, you see all these kids that are doing it, and they're all getting out of the pool and walking up and doing it again. And it's that moment where you're going, holy crap. And then that feeling of, and then you hit. Like,
yep.
That's not a bad feeling. It's to protect you, to make sure that, you're like thinking about things and aware of things. But that feeling is what like then allows you to get to the next thing.
Yes. So, that the anxiety and the fear, like, again, that's a natural thing. Thomas pointed it out. You and I are saying, yes, 100%. And what we do is, or what I do, I'm running like, ooh, this could, like all the negative lists, like these less than awesome outcomes can happen. One of the ways I get over that, especially like starting my business and right? I ask myself, what else is also true? Right? Because yes, it is true that these things, these bad, negative, stinky things could happen. But what else is true? Amazing, awesome things could happen. And it's like, okay, I'm going to assume both of those are true. So now the question is, how do I find out? Do the damn thing. Bottom line. Right? Is it going to be first time? Hell no, it's not. Is the experience in terms of learning, growth, self-awareness, etc., enough for me to go through the pain of doing it again to learn and get better at it? When the answer is yes, I keep doing it. When the answer is no, I stop doing it. Like that's the deal.
So
So
just you're a pretty big baller. I mean, you're out there doing some things. How many things have you gone out and done for the very first time and it was like perfectly amazing?
I don't know. The only one I can think of, because Thomas is here, I'm gonna hit you back, Thomas. I don't know. And so that's the other thing, right? Like from my perspective, nothing I do comes out the way I want it. From my perspective, right? Like I was the MC at the Women's Confidence
Mhm.
Builder thing. Had a great time. It was awesome. From my perspective, there was a whole lot that I dropped the ball on.
Mhm.
What I received from the people that were there was that it was an awesome experience. And so, like, to answer the question, for me, none, never. Right? I did a talk about sobriety and substance abuse at a job site here in San Antonio. From my perspective, there was all kinds of stuff that was like, damn, I sucked. Like that was a poorly delivered, poorly structured message. Da, 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 da. From the people that were there, it was a different experience. So I think that's the back to the impact question, right? Is what I want and how I want to serve and deliver. I'm always massaging and figuring that out. What the other people, like the audience's experience, is the most important thing, period, all the time. So back to Thomas, he was onboarding me, had started with the
I
company,
remember this story.
right? I was flying out. We met at the San Francisco airport. There was a pool plan that
This
was
was your like
scheduled.
first time on this job, like with this company.
First time with the company,
Okay, I just want to be clear.
right? So first time with the company, first time I had ever been in a room with the designers and planners and all of these super fancy people, because a month before that I was just a trade partner and I have to lead the pool plan,
As a
right?
GC.
As the GC,
Okay.
right? And I've never ever done that before, but it's what had to be done. So I did what I knew how to do. And I knew, like, I was shaking, like, oh my God, this is disaster. The feedback was that it was a great experience and it helped move the ball and help people get moving. So again, was it perfect? Hell no. Was it anywhere near what I know I can do? Hell no, it wasn't. Because they were speaking a language that I've never even heard before. Did they get some impact and value out of it? Yes, they did. So what's important? I can learn and adjust. They got some value. Awesome. Mission accomplished. And I think this ties into what my buddy George Sancho, I've known George since sixth grade. What's up, Georgie? He says to his younger self, he would say, have confidence in yourself. And so question, Jennifer, how does one get confidence in themselves?
I don't like that question. Well, I don't think I can just go, I'm going to have confidence. So
Hmm.
for me personally, you're building your resume and you're building all the things you did. For me, how I got it and how I got to the point now where I can say that I'm kind of a big deal. Like for me to be able to say that out loud, people don't understand how big a deal that is. But I think that a couple of things. Number one is the people I surround myself with. And it's not like the accomplices, which is what I know you've talked about before, is those people that are like, yeah, that person sucks and you didn't deserve that. Like those are accomplices. Those are not the people I surround myself with. I don't need people just to go, yeah, it's not fair to you and they should have done. Like I don't need those people because I got all those thoughts in my head. I don't need those people to validate those thoughts. It's the people I surround myself with that every single one of them will hold up a mirror and they'll let me show me what they see, but also let me see things that sometimes I don't see when I'm doing things for
Mm.
myself. And when that started happening, when I started allowing those people to be around me and to encourage them and to listen and to not be the first one to speak and to really pay attention to what they were saying and then take action on some of those things, the shift was like, I mean, it was, for me, it was crazy because now all of a sudden, as much as I felt like I was giving up control and giving up things, what it opened up in front of me and what it allowed me to see of, I mean, how do I get confidence is when I see the confidence that other people have in me. And that was, to me, that was, I love Rachel. But I mean, that for me, that's what the shift was, is when I took off the armor and I took the walls down, and I allowed myself to listen, but also to give. This show is a big deal. This show is just the vulnerability and the I'm real and I'm a human and I'm gonna, I make bad decisions and I do all those things, and it doesn't make me less than. When I started having those conversations and realizing that by saying those things and owning those things, it allowed me to be more confident. It's kind of crazy how it works, but now I can walk into a room and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what my story is or their story is, because we all have one. And I'm going to come in as the same person every time.
Yes. Yes.
What about you, Jesse?
Well, it's like super basic for me. Do more of it. Right? Like podcasting, when I first started, low comfort level, no low confidence. I did another episode and another episode and another episode and another episode. And now I have proof against the what if that I can do it. And I have proof to look back on and see that I can get better. And it's really that easy. When my confidence is low on something, do the damn thing, do it a bunch of times. And now I have proof that I can do it. Like it, because my confidence, I don't know about everybody else, but my confidence comes from me. Right? Celebration.
Now mine does. Now mine does.
Right? Like it comes from me based on the proof that I've been able to deliver the thing, whatever that, been able to do the damn thing, whatever that is. So that's on confidence. We got Miss Angel. What's going on, sister? I really like this one. And then I'm going to post the next question for people to chew on. It may end up being homework, but we'll see. Curious Idealist, Angel says, I would also tell myself, oh, no, that's not the one I want. This is the one I want. She says, I think I would just tell my teen self that the skills I was learning in speech, team, theater, and improv would be some of the most valuable skills I would learn. So lean into those things. What do you think about those lessons that we learn early on that turn out to be like the important magical things?
I am telling you, and I'm telling everyone out there, that if you look it up, one of the biggest fears of most people is public speaking. And it is not, it's like across the board in all the surveys and everything else. That does not mean that every single person is going to be able to get up there and dance like Jesse and do all the stuff and not worry. But I am telling you, just like he said, the more that you do something and lean into those things, those nerves and those butterflies, which I felt this week for the first time, which was kind of crazy. But when you feel those things, it's not a bad thing. It just, the more that you do those things and the more that you can lean in and get up in front of people and confidently speak, like, I don't even care what you're talking about. I don't care what rooms you're in. You will elevate yourself and you will impact people because of how you show up. And Jesse and I show up a lot and we speak a lot, but it is not because all of a sudden we just became these great speakers. We are this right here, like literally we are standing in front of a screen and we are talking and engaging with people. Jesse, I'm going to tell you, this has elevated my speaking game. And I know we're not on a stage right now, but like being able to speak and, improv and, go back and forth and we feed off each other and we've got comments coming in. Like if you are just in a space like that or in a room where you're kind of being able to do it, like it will, those reps will continue to help you. So Angel, yes.
Yes. And so that leads to the next question is, what is a lesson you learned the hard way, right? And for me, there's a direct connection because I just can imagine myself being in drama and improv, et cetera, in high school and how terrifying and awkward that would be. But I too have taken improv lessons. Now that was, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. And dramatic impact, even incorporated into the way I facilitate some of the little exercises that we did in improv. I've made a part of a lot of the learning experiences that I provide. And so I think That I think that's an important question. Is what is a lesson that you learned the hard way? And that one goes out to the folks out there in the omniverse. Um,
Well,
and so, Jen,
I want to lean into this question, but I mean, my answer is going to be something that we experienced,
mhm,
and that there were two times that you and I, based on a something we planned or something we wanted to do, whether it was the 5S love letters and that series of things we did, and then when we decided that we were going to create this platform, not really knowing what it was going to be and what we were going to do, we had two times where we kicked something off with a plan, and we kicked it off with, here's what we want to do, here's what we have to do to be able to engage and to impact, and here's what the people are going to do, and here's what they need. And some of it, a lot of it more than me than you, but this was our plan. What is the structure? What do we need to do? Like, what are those steps? And they failed, and it completely was like, what? We had a plan, and this is not, I don't feel good about it. I'm not sure this is what we need to do. And it was because of the damn plan. And so for me, what is the lesson that I've learned the hard way is, I know there are times, and I work in construction, policies and procedures, all those things, like there are a lot of things that you need to make sure you're following the plan. I was like, but there's also a lot of things that if you go in with a prescribed agenda, and you already kind of know when this happens and this is going to happen and this is going to happen, then it will never go the way that you think it's going to go. Versus literally, I'm going to tell you, we are successful and we are able to do this because we have a topic. We have no bullet points. We have no idea what the audience is going to say. Sometimes we don't even know what each of us are going to say. And yet we are able to get through this and feed off each other. And most of the podcasts that I've been on, some of those people are in the comments, is that, hey, Jennifer, do you need the questions ahead of time? Absolutely not. Do not send me any questions ahead of time. Do not tell me what we're going to talk about. Don't tell me what you're going to ask, because that is real. And that is where you can really, if you start overthinking, I have some experience in that, and you start trying to get yourself all tuned up, you're going to lose who you are. That was what I learned the hard way. So what about you, Jesse?
well, I'm going to go back to what we talked about earlier in terms of like the accountability thing or the vision I have for people. What I learned the hard way was I need to make sure people want what it is I'm trying to give them, right? Like when I started in the lean business, right, back in the day when I was on the trade side of the business, I learned all this lean stuff, and I used it so it made my day easier. And so when I showed up with my shank ready to solution shank people and say, you should do this and try this and this, because I identified problems. I had value to share. And so I was stuffing all my value down their throat. They never asked for it. They never asked for it. Yes, from my perspective, there was a problem. From their perspective, there wasn't a problem. Things were fine. And more important, because it's easy to say, well, they just don't see and they don't think for themselves. They're cavemen. They want to do things hard. Like, that's not necessarily true. What is also true is that there are bigger problems that are kicking them in the face that they would rather have solved for them or with them before they can worry about the little piddly shit that I'm hyper focused on. And so the learning the hard way was learning the value or the necessity to get agreement on the problem. Because if I think you have a problem and you don't, there ain't nothing I can do to get you off of that. I can point at it, I can tell you about it, but if you don't care, I'm spinning my wheels and I'm eroding the connection that we could potentially have. Right?
Yes.
Like so many people have come and said, well, you should do this, and why don't you should try this, and I'm like, yeah, sounds good. Thanks. Not interested. That's not a problem I care about. Let's talk about something I care about. I know how that feels within me. And so when I'm working with people, or especially like when I'm trying to figure out a deal to work with my clients, I ask a lot of questions. because I really want to understand what are they dealing with? What are the things like it's easy people it's kind of easy for us to talk about what we want, like what the ideal situation would be. What's really difficult is to understand what's in the way of us getting there.
Mhm.
Right. And so figuring that out helps me form the support and the messaging, et cetera, the resources I'm going to connect them with, because it's going to address the biggest, most painful problems for the person, for the human being. Let's do that. Let's make some deposits in that emotional bank account, serve them. And this, you know what that does? Increases bandwidth for learning. So we take some of that stuff out, the static out, get some bandwidth, and then we start doing like the nerdy stuff that I'm compelled to impose upon them. Like so, summary is get agreement on the problem, do something in service to them, and then do all the curriculum, nerdy, fancy crap.
Well, I love what you said, and I want to add because you do this too. Is ask the question of what they want and what they're looking for, because sometimes, and we do this with emotional bungee jumpers and things like that, is we like make sure when they come to you with a problem or they come to you with an issue, and Jesse, you are very much like, I have the solution to help this. Like we need to ask that question, and you do a really good job of, okay, what are you asking for? What are you looking for? What do you need me for? And sometimes, as much as it's hard, is like, I just need you to let me vent.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to walk away, and I need you not to come back later and go, did you, should you, would you? Like sometimes that is all they need. And if you get clarity early, one, a lot less frustrations on my part, and we are giving them what they want. And that doesn't mean they're not going to come back later, but like when you over try to help, you shank, you all these other solution, whatever. One, if that's not what they're looking for, you're making things worse, and literally you have the best intentions. And so getting clarity early is, do you want help with this? What is the problem? Those type of things can help a lot of those frustrations.
Yes. And Miranda, and I think this is like fundamental to this thing that we're talking about, right? The problem or the dynamic that we're touching on. Miranda says, and thank you, DJ Hootie Hoo. He's out there sourcing names for us. She says, I learned the hard way that it's not about me. Right. And so in these engagements, right, and you don't have to be a lean freak to have this problem, right? You can be supervisor, you could be a husband, a wife, a brother, sister, friend, etc. Why do I want to give them my best, polished, tastiest value? Because I'm going to feel really good that I helped them. Right. I gave them the best I have. So I'm going to say, yeah, good job, Jesse. It's not about me.
Yes.
It's about them. I need to understand what is ailing them, and if I can't help them, I got friends, right? Like, hey, I can't help you with this, but let me connect you with Hoots, or let me connect you with Jen, or this is the thing. Miss Rachel says, learning the hard way, not speaking up for myself.
We're working on that.
So Jen, what are some things people can expect when they start speaking up for themselves?
There's going to be people that, number one, because they're not used to that voice, they're not used to someone saying something, that the responses are going to be a little bit of like curious, but also like, why? And that's what I've seen is someone speaks up for the first time, or someone says something that maybe they're normally the quiet voice. And because there's a lot of loud voices in the room that usually will push those people away, they'll start, I'm not saying getting defensive, but they'll start attacking, or they'll start digging into like, what value is it? And why do you feel like you need to why do you feel that that's important? And what are the metrics, and what are the analytics, and what are the, all these things? That's a natural defense. Just going to say, like, that is, do not, because you speak up and someone comes at you, because I've been on the receiving end of that, mean that it's about you and that you are the problem, or that you are the one that shouldn't have said something. these people that are in these rooms, and a lot of times their voices are the loudest voices, and they're the ones that usually can control the conversation. And when your voice changes their plan, or something you've said makes the room look at something differently, then they're going to take it personally. And the more you do that, the more, one, they expect it, and two, like they have to grow, and not everyone can do that on the first try. So like when you speak up for the first time, it's going to be scary, and you're going to be sweating, and you're going to be like, oh, I shouldn't have said that, and all these things, and that's normal. And that because you're trying to find your voice, and you're trying to find your place. But if it is something that you believe in, and something that you're passionate about, and you in your mind, like, this needs to be said, please don't just sit there and think it. Like, say it. And there's going to be times where someone may come and say, hey, appreciate that, maybe we can do this later, or we can meet later. Like, that's fine. But like, don't just sit on it and then later on go, well, this happened and this should have happened and all that, when you really didn't take the time to voice some of your concerns.
Yes, it's not easy. It's going to take work. People grow at different rates. Like, speaking up helps a lot. So Steve Martin, I love this. Steve says, if you're struggling with taking risks, don't focus on jumping, focus on landing.
Ooh, I like that.
Right? A simple twist of mindset helps you start on the journey.
Yes.
Where am I going to land? What do I want it to be like? Jeff Sample coming in seriously.
Killing it.
And so, Jen, if you can run with this for a little bit so I can make sure everybody gets the link to the after party. Put yourself first. Oh, Jen, what a coincidence. Put yourself first isn't selfish, it's selfless. If you can't show up as the best you, everyone around you suffers. What do you have on this topic, Jennifer?
Well, one, again, we are around amazing people, and the people that the space that we are in, and the people that are around us have a voice, and they are in other places talking and doing things. And that keeps getting bigger. And for someone who has been fine shining that light and elevating people around me, I have no problem with that. But it's hard when that light shines back on me. And so for me, it was just like, it's not about me. It's not about me. It's not about me, which is absolutely right. But when you minimize yourself, and when you minimize the things and your power and your impact because you want to make other people look better, sometimes like that doesn't help the people you're trying to help. And so what I've realized is, and I've had some people that I didn't even know were paying attention, which it helps, but it also makes me realize I've got to lean into that and do it more. People that I didn't even know they were out there and they were watching, and that they came up and they said, Jennifer, you know what I love about you? Is every place you are in, whether it's a podcast or in person or in a room in a training class or you're speaking, you show up the same every place you are. And like, that's not a big deal in my opinion. Like, I'm just being me. But for people that are watching, and that a lot of times are in rooms with people that they have this face, and then they have this face, and then they're in front of the executives, but then they're over here at the bar, not like, there's different people that show up different ways. But if you show up the same way, who you are, what you believe in, like, that influences people, that impacts people. And I don't think we think about that. We think about that moment in time and who's in the room and what are we trying to do? And if you just show up with who you are, what you believe in, like, that inspires people. And for me, it took a while to realize that was a big deal, and I needed to lean into that.
Okay, so I didn't hear much about you putting yourself first. I heard you more talking about serving others. Did I get that, Hoots, or was that? So let's give it another shot, Jen. Come on.
What's the question again? I don't like this.
Putting yourself first is not selfish. It's selfless.
Yes. Yes. Okay, fine. Like, I have to own that I have to do things for me. I don't like you, but that is true. And I have to own that my job and my roles and my responsibilities are absolutely in service to others. And I have to make sure that I'm taking care of those things. But I also have to own that if I am not taking care of me and I am not putting the focus on me and I'm not taking the time and I am not, I don't like you. I hate you, Adam. I've got to take the time for me. And for a long time, even from when I was younger and being a single father and having to take lots of responsibilities and stuff, my entire life, it's like responsibilities, take care of everybody else, and then everything's going to be fine. And you can do that up to a point. And if you are not stopping and taking the time for yourself and literally like having to disconnect and not make it about what other people think, what other people see, what other people want, what other people need, and it has to be about what I need, which is very, very hard, very, very hard. And then I'm doing a disservice. And when I realized that like by taking time for myself, which seems very selfish, thank you, Jeff, it's not. Because if I'm in a better place and I'm taking care of me and I'm doing things to put me in a good place, it only makes everything else better around me. But like that connection I'm still working on it, but it's taken my entire life to understand that I'm doing a disservice to myself, but to others if I don't take care of me first.
Thank you for answering the question, Jan. I'm so glad Adam's like back there because now I can really focus.
Okay, well, I have a question to you because it was like way farther back up and it wasn't highlighted. So I am going to address it to you. Is Adabambo said, what's your greatest fear? And so based on the kind of things we've been talking about today, Jesse, what is your greatest fear?
My greatest fear is and has always been abandonment. It's a thing that came up when I was a kid, and for a lot of different reasons. And this is how strong it is. I may not be getting abandoned, but I'll frame behaviors and responses from people as abandonment. And so part of there's a lot of sayings out there, but I really think that fear of abandonment is part of what fuels me to serve others, right? Because if I'm providing value, if I'm helping and making people's day better, or at least every now and then adding a smile to their day, they won't leave me. Right. So on one end, there's this thing that I'm compelled to go help and serve, but on the back end, it's chasing me. So like I'm chasing after this thing that I want to serve and help people. What I'm running away from is being left behind or left out, right? Being abandoned and forgotten about. And it doesn't manifest itself in an unhealthy manner anymore. I think like because I'm chasing and being chased, I think it propels me forward. What do you think about that?
Well, yes, I agree. I mean, I know that, and I know that, but I've seen how you've taken that and really leaned in and used that to be able to be a driving force behind
Yes.
where you engage, who you engage with, who you disengage with. And I think that is a big deal too. It's like, it's not just what you're bringing in, but it's also kind of what sometimes you have to leave behind and what you have to keep moving forward and let go of to be able to keep going towards what you want.
Yes. Like honestly, when people aren't, we're working with them and they're not taking action, for me, it feels like they don't want anything to do with me. Mm-hmm. It feels like they're like separating. Mm-hmm. And this is why I'm like, instead of getting it all spun up in my head and trying to understand why, what did I do wrong? Just say, okay, like, fine, I'm going to move on. Mm-hmm. You're invited back always. When next time you call me and text me and you're ready to move, like, let's do that. But I'm going to continue moving forward instead of chasing after you because you may just not be ready.
Right.
So I think there's a couple of bombs in here that I want to make sure we
do it.
Jeremy says, right, lessons the hard way. Don't compare yourself to others. Judge yourself against yesterday's you. Yeah, there's many paths to success. Both the success and the path look different for everyone. Gangsta.
Very
uh,
much.
and James, the uncommon communicator, says the lessons I learned the hard way. Hard conversations do not get better with
They're
time.
just going to be hard.
Right? He's let too many conversations age, and he's found so much freedom in addressing these hard issues head on and right away. I think I've heard Jordan Peterson say conflict avoided is conflict multiplied. Right? Like that's how it processes in my head, is like we need to go and do the damn thing. It's not comfortable, it's not easy, but ain't gonna get better. It's only gonna get worse.
And how
Um,
many times does he have you, like, I'm going to tell you from my person, how many times when you've made the phone call and you've had the tough conversation, whether it's, again, something you didn't want to do, like the other person says, thank you.
oh
Oh my
man,
gosh. Like, and it's like, it blows my mind, but I'm like this, like they are so appreciative of just the direct conversation.
it doesn't happen all the time, but it happens very frequently. And I'll
Right.
tell you, like, if guys, folks out there, Omniverse tribe members, like, don't get it twisted. It doesn't happen immediately.
No.
Sometimes it's days and
Yeah.
weeks or months before that person that I had the hard
Mhm.
conversation with will come back and say, "Man, thank you for saying that."
Mhm.
Like, it's been an issue. When you said it, it bugged me. I've asked other people about it. They said it too. And they're like, those people have been in my life for a long time and they never pointed it out, but it's always bugged them. I've known you for 3 days and you said it, and like, thank you. And so you have to go there. Is there risk? Yes. Do I risk people saying Jesse's a jerk? He's whatever? Yes. But I'd rather do that than let the people I care about, the people that I want to serve, walk forward blind, right? Like it's worth the risk if you can be more aware of how you can be closer to the promise you are intended to be.
Yes. And it's because a lot of people won't do, like, they won't have that conversation. And like, it's a phone call, it's a text, they found out through somebody else. And like, it hurts. It doesn't mean it's going to be less painful,
Right.
but like that, being able to be the person that you're showing up and you're being real and you're having that real conversation, like it also allows you to influence and impact those people that they can do those things.
Yes. Force multiplying. So, folks, LinkedIn after party is going to be starting here in about 8 minutes. I posted the link and all the socials. Jen, we're going to transition to closing thoughts, but there's two comments I want to bring
Okay.
up so you can form your closing thought.
Okay.
Um,
Great.
Bruce says, I learned early on not to assume anyone has any interest in what's important to you, but it was hard to understand to what degree that was true. So he had to understand the value of me, of what I wanted, and to do and be prepared to fight really hard for it. Like just because you care about it, you can't expect other people to care about it. Period. Period. It's not fun, but it's a truth. And then Miss Carol says, it either gets you now or it is getting you now, right? Like, pay me now, pay me later. You're gonna pay.
Mm-hmm.
So have the hard conversation, do the work, do the damn thing, because it ain't going away. All right, Jen, closing thought.
I mean, we've said a lot today, and there's like a ton of things. I think I just want to make it simple today. Is if it's only in your head and you never voice it ever, don't judge or get mad at people for not understanding it. And I think that we have those things in our head and it's not fair and they should have done this and they would have done this, but we're not willing to speak up and say it. And then we are able to like get mad and get frustrated and condone them for things that it may have been the same outcome, but we don't know that because we never voiced it and we never shared those things that could have made an impact and could have changed something. Yet we somehow stay in that state of mind, and we put those people in categories because they didn't care about me or they didn't help me or whatever. But did you voice it? and a lot of the stuff we talked about today. I mean, again, I could have 10 takeaways, but I think that's the biggest one is, and that's one that I've kind of leaned into and do better at is if voice it, put it out there. People can get mad, they can get frustrated, but they also can now know where you are.
Gangsta. So before I share mine, I want to love to like the freaking chat blew up. Adam, thank you for being here because you've helped tremendously as you always do. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for not abandoning me, Adam Hoots. And like we are not able to put everybody's chat like comment on the screen, but I do know there was some help going on in the background. Gloria, you were trying to help the LinkedIn user get fixed. So appreciate the tribe community, helping each other, supporting each other, having the side conversations. I am jealous, but I'm grateful that that is what's happening. And so my closing thought is going to be on top. I'm going to build on top of a comment that Kyle shared. He says, sometimes it's the fear of failure and sometimes it's the fear of succeeding. Many times it's both that holds us back. And for me, the fear of succeeding is a real thing. And particularly, and I've done it, Sean Moran loves to hit me with this. My biggest fear is being abandoned. But at the rate that I grow, learn, discover new things, I leave people behind. So my success means I am going to do to people what I fear most. Right? And so it's not just a fear of failure. There is this element of fear of succeeding. And what does that mean? How's my life going to change? Who am I going to leave behind? Who am I going to meet that have to tolerate? Like all of those things, those are realities. Like Lad says, feeling so inspired. So, folks, we've got the after party. The link is in the chat somewhere in there. I don't know how to find it because I got the backup link. We want to hear your thoughts, your takeaways. We want to hear your voice because Jen and I have been talking this whole time. And if you don't know, the conversations in the after party is
fire.
Right. And it's what's going to inform our next session. Look at that. Jeff says, worth the wake up.
Well, he reached out. He voiced it and said, Jennifer, I missed these. I need a reminder. I want to be on the next one because he keeps missing them. And I gave him what he asked for.
Boom. That's it. That's all you got to do. Leslie, she's gone. Love y'all very much. And we'll hear you in the after party.
Yes. Talk to you later. Bye.
Peace.